Thanks for joining us at Star Media today. We have Ashley Kurtz with us, and we're so excited she's here because we're only days away from the general election, and it's the time of year, a time during an election season that a lot of questions start coming up. And so Ashley's here. She's going to answer some questions for us. This conversation is specifically going to talk about election integrity and the steps that our local elections officials take in ensuring that we have a fair and accurate election. Ashley is our Rock County Auditor Treasurer, and along with that comes the duty of being our official elections guru. You're in charge of, you and a small army. And so that's kind of what we're also going to talk about today, what goes on behind the scenes of an election and the work that Ashley's office does in making sure that everything goes as it's supposed to. So I could ask, first of all, how long have you been doing this, Ashley?
I have been with Rock County for just over 16 years. Of those, I've been the Auditor Treasurer for 13. This is my 9th general election. So I've been through quite a few. My first one was in 2008 when I started. That's when we had the big recount. So I kind of started off fast and furious.
I forgot about that. Wow, you poor thing.
But yeah, so I've kind of seen a lot over my years of experience.
I think I kind of recall that happening too, and I kind of remember feeling like, oh my gosh, this poor girl, she's brand new to this. But I also remember being very impressed by the process and the fact that there are processes in place and you knew what to do with those, and we did great.
Yes, yep.
So
it all turned out good.
It's things people don't always know. And so we're going to allow a little glimpse behind the scenes here. So it's an all-consuming thing in your office. Can you tell us a little bit about how this works? I mean, what you're busy doing every day?
So I always say, for small non-metro counties, election years are hard because we have enough in our normal day-to-day on a non-election year to keep us busy, or more than busy,
because
every day.
You handle taxes and you handle all these other things.
So election time does get crazy for our office. We rely heavily on our license center staff to kind of help us with tasks.
The DMV folks on the other side of it,
Yes, we rely on them heavily. They step in and they help us with whatever we need. They're willing to do anything. We also had one part-timer. She used to work full-time, came back part-time. She has been an integral part in getting all of the election stuff done. I'm not sure how we would have done it without her. So.
And these folks are all trained in election processes also.
So me and my staff attend a mandatory training at the beginning of every election year. We have to have 15 hours to be a certified election administrator.
Oh, wow.
And then we have to keep up that certification on non-election years as well. So me and 2 of my staff received that 15-hour training. So we're geared up and ready to go, I guess.
And I suppose there are some new things that come up every election season,
there
too.
is.
And you need to know what they are. Just for example, is this the first year that convicted felons are able to vote? How does that work?
Okay, so if you're a convicted felon, you have to have completed your sentence, and your right to vote has to have been restored in order to vote. You can't be incarcerated still. So there are still some requirements in there, but.
So if you have a felony on your record, it's up to the voter to make sure that the rights get reinstated and then take a couple extra steps.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And we actually, every month, we get a report from the Department of Corrections letting us know if there's any changes, and then we can make those changes to the voter record.
Oh, good.
So there is a process in place to handle that.
Well, that was just one that I knew was new this year, and I'm sure there's lots of them.
Yes. Yep.
Can you tell me how many election judges we have ready now and how that works to get them trained?
Yes. So I think we trained right under 75 judges total.
That's a lot.
Yes.
I didn't know.
But the city of Laverne hires quite a few because a lot of them work in shifts. Okay. So again, it's easier to find people to be an election judge if you can break up that long day.
Oh, sure.
So if you can have someone that will work in the morning and someone that will come in the afternoon, that kind of breaks it up for them. But they all require that 2-hour training. And so we offer that. We went to an online course a couple years ago after COVID. And it's actually worked out really well because it allows people to do it when they have time. Instead of having to try and find one date that works for everyone, you can log in, you can do it as you have time. And then I can see the completion status.
Who gets to be an election judge? I mean, are there criteria that you have to meet to be?
There is, but it's basically as long as you're eligible to be a voter, you can be an election judge. Yes. Yep. But when you apply, you do have to state your party affiliation.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes. Yep. And then it's up to the jurisdiction to make sure that if you have 4 judges, that the parties are balanced.
Oh, really?
So that you don't have all of one party working in a polling place. So that's one of the requirements, like Jessica Mead, for instance, as a city clerk.
Sure.
Yep.
Never thought about that. But again, that matters, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yep.
And it matters that our voters know this.
Yes.
That there are partisan affiliations, but they're balanced.
Yes.
Yep,
and we have that in almost everything that we do. When we do the nursing home voting too, we send judges out to do that, and there has to be party balance there. So we're constantly making sure that there's a balance on both sides with every task that we're doing.
That comes up, doesn't it?
It does, yep.
Because our nursing home residents need to be able to vote.
They do, yep.
And making those accommodations, that's great, but we need to make sure it's fair.
Exactly, yep. Yeah, and they need assistance, and we have to make sure that that happens in a good manner. So.
Right, and so party affiliations on both sides help oversee that.
Yep.
That's good to know also. I think there's lots of things we need to know. I think this comes up too. So what about how our people vote? I mean, it's electronic, but they still use paper. Tell me how that works.
Sure, yep. So we vote on paper ballots that are put into an electronic tabulator. That tabulator is sealed after the public accuracy test. Nobody touches the machine. So right now, we had our public accuracy test yesterday. Our machines are sealed and ready to go for election day. The only thing we'll do is double check the time because of daylight savings time. But it always falls the Sunday before election.
Sure.
But they are ready to go otherwise. So that seal stays on that machine all election day. It does not come off until the machine is brought to the courthouse on election night. And then we pull that thumb drive out. That thumb drive is then taken to a computer that's not connected to any network. So it's a standalone laptop. It has software loaded on it that takes the vote totals and allows us to print reports. And it creates a download that we then put on a thumb drive and take to a computer that's connected to the internet because we have to upload it to the Secretary of State's website. Okay. So it's quite a process to get from the machine to the Secretary of State website.
Tell me why that's important that we do that.
It's important, I think, because if you're on a standalone computer that's not connected to a network, there's no opportunity for hackers or any type of that activity going on. Okay. So if you're creating the download from that computer, nothing can happen to those results.
Okay. And that computer would have the original information after it's been, and so we can compare if we are concerned.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Yep. And then after they're uploaded to the website, then we also go through and we take the tapes that are printed off the machines at the end of the night, and we compare those totals to make sure that they match. It's a constant balancing game.
Lots of numbers.
It is a lot of numbers. Half the time I go home on election night and my husband's like, "So who won this race?" And I'm like, I don't even know.
Because you're checking.
I've just looked at all the numbers.
Yes.
I don't pay attention.
Ashley, oh my goodness. I can only imagine what you see when you close your eyes on the end of all the numbers and the ballots coming through. Oh my goodness. But it's important to know this because it points to election integrity.
It does,
and that's why we're talking about this.
Yes.
So the mail ballots too then, so how are they handled?
Yes.
I know that they come in. I know they're sent out to the precincts that do only mail ballot voting, and you can get an absentee ballot. But there's been a lot of information and some misinformation
Yes.
shared about. So tell us why we trust this, or
Yes.
if we trust it.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you bring your absentee or your mail ballot with us, for those that have done it, you notice there's a barcode on it with your name.
right.
And so what we do is we stamp the ballot with the receive date. So that's the date that the ballot came back to our office. So you'll always see it when you drop us off. That's why we stamp it.
Oh.
So we need that receive date on it. Then when we get ready to start accepting them, we look through the envelopes. 2 people again. Everything's done with 2 people. Look at the envelope. We compare when we make sure that the voter signed and that they had a witness on the mail ballots. So the mail ballots are a little less to check than the absentee. But if we're satisfied with that, then we scan that ballot in as accepted into our voter registration system. So at that point, the vote is going to be counted. The ballot is accepted. It goes into a drawer, and it sits there until we're able to process it.
Okay.
And then when we get to that point, which we just kind of started, we could start that on Friday, but we actually just started it this week. We print a report from that system where we've scanned everything in, and we have to count the number of ballot envelopes that we have and make sure that we balance.
It matches.
Yes, yeah, before we start opening anything. So.
I have so many questions. I don't know, Ashley. I think, what are other misconceptions that you end up having to address? I mean, this business of that non-residents can vote, can that happen? I mean, can you be not a resident of Minnesota or the United States and show up and vote without ID? How does that work?
So I think a lot of this has stemmed from the automatic voter registration and the driver's license for all that recently started in Minnesota. But however, there are procedures in place. So yes, anyone can come in and get a driver's license, but DBS has implemented procedures to make sure that when those people are applying for their driver's license, if they don't show proof of citizenship, then that information does not get passed over to the Secretary of State. So it doesn't automatically come over and register them.
Didn't know that either. Wow.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but if you would come in and you are a U.S. citizen and you show all of that, you show your birth certificate and whatnot, that information then will come over and automatically register you. Okay. So automatic voter registration only happens if the person that's applying for the driver's license provides the necessary documents.
Okay.
So
good to know. Because you do see people show up at their voting precincts and they don't have to show anything. They're registered, they're already on the rolls.
Right.
And so it would appear that it's easy to cheat. But that doesn't happen.
Nope, it doesn't happen.
Or people could try, but it does not.
Right. Yep. Okay. It won't go through. So, and when you're applying, the first question on a voter registration application is, are you a U.S. citizen? So, I mean, you're checking that from the get-go.
And there are, there's fraud. I mean, fraud is a serious thing. If you get convicted of fraud, that's...
Oh, yes. It's a federal and state...
It's nothing you want to try.
No, nope. I wouldn't anyways.
No, for sure. I think that, again, your office, is it better this year in terms of battling conspiracy theories? I mean, how is... The last election cycle got a little bit rough.
Yes.
And I felt so bad for your office.
Yes.
And so have we come a little further this time around, or how is that going?
I think we have. I feel like, if anything, we were more prepared this year for it. I feel like in 2022, we were kind of caught off guard. We just didn't see that stuff coming. So I think we're prepared now. And I think we really have trained ourselves to use it as an opportunity to educate.
Right.
So if someone drops their ballot off and says something, we like to turn it around and be like, well, did you know this is what I'm going to do with your ballot? Or this is what happens. Or if you're not comfortable with this, then you are eligible to come vote on election day. That's the great thing about Minnesota is you can vote. People can choose how they want to vote.
Okay.
Some people like to vote in the mail. Some people like to vote in person. And there's opportunities for everyone to do both.
So I'm glad that's better for you.
Yes.
Because, boy, you were just blindsided last time around. I remember that. And I think it's great that people ask questions. That there's nothing wrong with that, but being accused of having an election system that isn't fair and
Yes.
sound, that's a different story. And
Right.
so we're doing a little better, we feel like.
Yeah, I absolutely think so.
Good.
Yes,
I'm so glad.
we had staff in tears every day. Like,
I know.
we've not seen any of that this time. So, people have been much better.
Good.
So, and I hope that continues in the next couple weeks.
Right. Ask questions and
Yes.
listen to answers.
Yep.
I love that. The remodeling project at the courthouse, are we gonna be ready in time for voters?
Yes, nothing like making an election year more crazy by adding a remodel in. It's scheduled to be done so that we can move on Tuesday.
Okay.
So hopefully
boy.
everything falls into place. We will still be open for absentee voting on Tuesday, but we'll be moving
No
our desk
kidding.
back upstairs.
Oh, wow.
But we're really excited. The new office is beautiful. The changes that have been made to make us more secure. We're
And
excited for that.
user-friendly, it looks
Yes.
like. I mean,
Yep.
to have the full counter width and to be able to
Yes.
navigate between the two offices.
Yep.
We have a story about that in this week's paper too, just explaining to readers what's gone on at the courthouse. There's general remodeling and then there's the traffic flow and user-friendly remodeling, so that's worth looking into. Is there anything else that we want to make sure voters are aware of in terms of what we do for election integrity and...
Yeah, I just want to, remind all voters that our elections are safe, secure, and accurate. We have processes that we follow on a daily basis. I pour my heart into elections. I pretty much live at the courthouse during this time. My staff goes above and beyond with every voter to make sure that everything's filled out correctly so that their vote can count. We really, truly do care about everyone's voting process and want to make it as easy for everyone as we can.
That sums it up, Ashley. And I think, too, what people need to remember is that we're all in this same community. We're all pulling in the same direction. We want what's best for our community and for our elected officials and for voting outcomes. So above all else, please participate and please vote.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here.
It was great.